There it is. Alrighty, guys. So it's time to wrap it up for today, this Tuesday, September 9th. And so we are right up here again against resistance. They've been bouncing up a few times now. Third time they're trying to take it higher, make it or break it. But they get into that last half hour. So we'll see if they can make it go out of it or not. But we had a little bit early weakness. To start actually started off with a little bit of strength, and then they ran down here to support at 64.90s. This morning we said that was the lowest area we were looking to buy against. Below the 64.90s, we're going to shift our bias. But as you can see, we were kind of sloppy here in the morning, going back and forth a bit. I did try one short trade here on the ES. That was after the news, and then they ran it lower, and then they did that crazy reversal across the whole range, right into that initial balance high. And this is right up at resistance, so right up here against the 64.15s. But short, faded just a little bit of heat, had a nice trade going. I got out at the mean. It ran quite a bit lower, but as I said in the last update, the expectation was the mean, and I got out when I got there. And now, if you want to sit in it, you can certainly sit in it and see if they can do crazy stuff like this. Sometimes they just go sideways back and forth, and you don't get anything out of it. But I took myself out in the range of $22 on that trade, and then they were right down here again. Since then, the other trade I was considering is against that mean, a reverse retest for a rotation down. But as you said, the balance it didn't do a whole lot, and then started grinding this higher. So if you try to short a couple of short trades here, you definitely have enough to go to break even. So you wouldn't have to necessarily be stuck in a loser, but you kind of had to get in fairly aggressively at the mean here for that to work. Now, in the afternoon, we've been pretty much grinding higher. So then it's been at this little slow grind to the upside back into that 2 o'clock hour. And the 2 o'clock hour did not, for a second, I thought it was going to run it lower. They see they knocked it down, but it was just not much happening after that. Just ran out of gas, and then now we're back up here again. So I'm thinking we may see a move higher. So I'm thinking that it looks to me like they're trying to take out the highs here. If not, pretty much right now is where you need to be short if you want to be short on this one, and then to keep it pretty tight stop. So that's kind of the dynamic we are looking at. And then we'll see how excuse me, how things develop. So there we have it. So starting off range bound, unless they close below the 64.90s, I'm going to stay with a slight bias to the upside and see if they can take this higher. So that's kind of the dynamic going into the overnight. And we are pretty much, if you look at F1, we are right up here again, getting ready to head back up into price discovery territory. So holding this together now and going back in here again, looks to me like this could be the start of a move out of the middle now from the middle again. And we'll see what happens. So that's the ES, one trade, $22 on that one. Did nothing on NASDAQ on the bonds today. So the bond market just range bound. The 3-year auction didn't do much here. They had a little reaction on the news this morning. Oops. But that was it. And then pretty much sideways action all day. So not much to say about the bond. The fact that they're up to 117 and holding it, starting off from the long side, looking to buy weakness down here to that 117. Below 117, take off the long bias and go and look for a further retracement to the downside. So that's how we get started. The fact that they're up at 117, long-term yields coming down, that's a good sign for bonds or for stocks. That means that you're going to get probably higher valuations on them. And yeah, we'll just have to see how low rates are willing to go here. Now, on the NASDAQ, I did no trades on the NASDAQ, but it's been pretty much similar action. They ran it down to that lower support at 720s. That was the lowest one we looked at, but they ran it all 3 levels down here, ran it right down, and then slowly been grinding back up again. A few opportunities to get short, I think, against on the NASDAQ, but and it's not as obvious as the ES. I would say that I think that ES had better setups today. I had an opportunity right there. The next one got you caught for a bit. It may be able to scratch it there, but and then you get caught in a grind to the upside. So I did not take any excuse me, NASDAQ trades today. So there's nothing there. I did take a gold trade though. It's unusual. I don't usually trade it, but I mean, I was watching this, and I can pull this together. But so the trade I took was over here. So remember, this morning they had an Israeli attack in Qatar against the Hamas people there. So they were running this higher, like regularly as running it higher on the gold market, heading higher. And it looked to me like they were getting ready to pop to the upside again in the day session. So if I go back up here, yeah, they were right up here in price discovery territory. price discovery territory. Then the attack came, I guess, and the big reaction to the upside and absolute sell-off. Interesting. I don't know quite why the reaction was like that, but I got in late on that trade. I was trying to get short, and I got in kind of late. I was trying to get short when it took out to the low, but I was in the short trade here. I had a good 50, $60 going in that trade. It was pretty good. And then the this whole thing from my entry point down to the low here is like $90 or something. And then they reversed right back up again and knocked me out. They knocked me out before they went down that far. So I had maybe 40, $50 when they reversed, knocked me out. So I only had $9 in that trade. And I did not re-engage it since. It was just too crazy, too volatile. But their momentum on the downside here was pretty darn violent. So I mean, I figured like, okay, if that's not going to work, then fine. So I took the shot, got a few bucks out of it. Since then, I didn't re-engage re-engage it because I just didn't know if it's gonna what side they're gonna go on here. So a pure momentum play, quick one, in and out. But at this point, they backed off the highs, hasn't really retraced a whole lot, but they're staying around 36 80s or 70 and 80s. And I would just say starting off still on the long side on gold. Even if they knocked it down a bit, they haven't really, they still extended to the upside. We are still in the move out of the middle to the upside on gold, and that's traded as such. So if they trade below this area, the 36.72s, that area, I think we may want to start off range bound and see if they're going to go back and forth here. But in the overnight, if they start retracing this back below the 36.70s, I would maybe look for retracement trading in the overnight if you're going to trade it. So. But gold is just crazy volatile. So there's very few opportunities, and I'm not going to try to be cute about it in between here. This was just a pure big momentum play, and I was late to that. I clicked in that order, and I was late, and it still like worked out pretty good. And then oil, that's range bound. They were up here up to 64. Now they're backing off again. So I'm almost thinking a retest of that low at 61.80 is in the cards. So if they close above that 63 level, I would start off range bound. Otherwise, I'll start with a short bias, looking to sell strength against the 62.70, 62.63 evens, rotations down, and see if they can retest that low. Maybe even take it lower. So I'm thinking the retest of that low here at the 61.50s. So we'll see that materialize because they try to take it higher back to the value, but and then they're back down again. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe they'll try to take this lower first. All right, so that's oil and gold. So far, yes, one trade on gold up $9, one trade on the ES up 22. And as I said before on the ES trade, after the fact, you can just say, I wish I stayed in, right? But you had to trade your rules, right? So and try to get out at the mean if that's my expectation. Unless it's like really moving and it's just yeah, let's just sit in it and see how far it goes. But that's kind of the dynamic. So two trades up to like $30 total on that one. But tomorrow, just so you know, we have news tomorrow. We have the PPI number at 8:30, wholesale inventories at 10, oil report at 10:30, and treasury buyback stuff at 11, and that's about it. But PPI number coming out tomorrow at 8:30, and that's going to be a potential market mover, so we'll see. But we'll leave it there for now. So I'll see you guys back bright and early in the morning. You guys have a good evening. All right, guys, let's see if this guy is going to develop now. If you were short now, you would on the ES up here against the 65.18s. At least you should be in almost in the break-even situation. So this you can tighten up your stop a bit. So let's see how far they can take it, or if they're going to run right back up and knock you out. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. I'll see you back at see you back bright and early in the morning. Later.